Good evening, y'all. Welcome in. It's time for 30 Books in 30 Weeks, and I'm laughing because my daughter is in town for the weekend, and it's always an adventure. So, we went on a shopping adventure today, and it took us 8 hours to go and finally make the purchase at the place that we visited a month ago. So I told her, I said, it took us 8 hours to do something we could have done in 18 minutes. I don't think this was the most productive use of our time, but at any rate, it was a fun day. So she was just harassing me in the background. So anyway, that's what I'm laughing about. Welcome in for 30 Books in 30 Weeks. We are talking in week 14 about my book, my favorite project of all time. It's called Love Miscarriage. And this book and Jenna and Tony Leo, which are the lead characters in it, absolutely mean the world to me. Like, I feel like I am Jenna. I feel like I am Jenna. But anyway, so we're talking about 30 books in 30 weeks. Tonight, what's going on, Julie? Hey, Raymond. We're talking about 30 books in 30 weeks. As you guys come in, feel free to share this out. I'm going to talk tonight about why you should never ever fall in love ever again, and how that relates to back to living a life in relationship with reality. What's going on, Gillette? Hey, Jennifer. What's going on, Mark? So share this out for those of you who are coming in maybe for the first time. I see some new names, so welcome into 30 Books 30 Weeks. I'm Marcy Batiste. I am a speaker and author and a reality-based success and recovery trainer, and that is the crux of where my passion lies, is in my reality-based training and my coaching with my coaching clients. Because I'm sold out to my happiness, so that doing that makes me very happy. I live life on Mars, meaning I operate from a standpoint of my world, my life, my rules. So I get to choose what I do, who I work with, and that's the best thing about entrepreneurship. And the third part is that I love to help other women shine. I mean, really truly helping them discover and embrace their star power. Like, really figuring out, like, where is my best self? Where is that happy spot? Where is my butterfly potential, my star power? Like, what does that all look like? And so it's stuff that I talk about and have talked about for years and years and years. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to work with other women and watch them discover these things for themselves. Mello, hey, Kathy Joe. So being able to watch women discover these things for themselves, and then to be able to implement the pillars of star power into their lives and successfully master the skills to find the happiness and the success that they've been looking for. So but it's always in relation with reality. So that's what's so important to me. So to this week, for our week 14, we're talking about Love Miscarriage. It's a book that I wrote and released a year ago. That is probably the biggest project that I've done to date, that I'm the most proud of, and that I have the most passion about. And what's going on, Ed? And I think that I titled this video "Don't Ever Fall in Love Again," not because I'm anti-love. So I want to go on record as saying I'm not anti-love, nor am I anti-relationship. Far from it, as a matter of fact. But I am anti-falling in love, very much so. And a reason I am is, one of the things that I share in this book, that, Jenna was operating in a space where she didn't have her eyes wide open about herself. She wasn't in relation with where she stood emotionally and her vulnerable spaces. And she wanted very much for, she wasn't out seeking a relationship, but she very much wanted that in her life. She wanted the stability, she wanted the comfort that a relationship can provide. And so when Tony came along and he said all the right things, it was just instant for her to go all in. And there's a piece in the book I was reading, and it really took me back as I was working on the project. She said to herself, So they were talking. They meet on their first date, and they're talking about building the future. And he lives in another state. He lives in Chicago. She lives in Arizona. And so they're talking about this cross country long distance relationship and what that looks like on for the long term going forward. And so after this date, or in the midst of this date, she says to herself, she said, "I'm like shocked." And overthinking, unlike the overthinking usual me, I answered without hesitation. Yes, I could definitely do that. And they were talking about her moving across country and moving to Illinois from Arizona. And she said yes without hesitation at the thought of being in this relationship. And so when I say don't ever fall in love again, it doesn't mean don't find a relationship. It does not mean don't seek out. What's going on, Casey? Hey, mama. It doesn't mean don't seek out relationship. It doesn't mean don't seek out love. It doesn't mean to discount the value that positive, healthy relationships provide for our lives. It definitely doesn't mean that. What I mean when I say don't ever fall in love again, I mean stand straight up, know what you stand for, what you're about, what you need in your life, and then actively seek that out in other parties. So you have to be clear about what you need and what that provides for you, so that when you meet new people and you see the potential for a relationship, you know the right kinds of questions to ask. Because see, Jenna was just looking, she was looking for the comfortability factor. Christopher Patton, what's going on, baby? So she was not looking for a relationship, but she very much wanted one, but she wasn't clear about what all she needed. She wanted the comfort of the relationship, but she wasn't ready for necessarily the responsibility of nurturing the relationship, and nor was Tony. And so they both kind of meet, and it's this whirlwind thing where, you know, the initial attraction is off the freaking charts, and then they're not even intimate. They're not even having sex, and they're already talking about moving across country. So it wasn't a sexual thing. It truly was this emotional clash of various needs. And so he's sharing with her at one point on this initial date. He's talking about, she asked him, she said, "Well, are you sure you're ready to take yourself off the market?" Because he's a performer, he's very popular, he's very handsome, very attractive, very desirable, like lots of women like throwing panties on the stage type of thing. And she's like, "Are you sure, you want to take yourself off the market?" And he says to her, "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." That she said, "So are you ready to take yourself off the single market and settle down?" His answer sold me. He said, "I've never been sure of any relationship before, but now I am totally sure. For the first time ever, there's no doubt in my mind, I'm ready." And she says, "That for me ended all doubts and questions. I was all in." And so she went all in, not because that's exactly what she wanted and that's what was right for her. He said the things she wanted to hear, which is, he said he's ready to settle down. He's ready. And so she was just like, "Okay, I'm all in." And that's the piece. That's that fall piece. That's that falling in love piece that you have to be so careful about and really truly choosing relationships. I had a friend tell me one time that he could not be in a relationship with me because he couldn't bring anything to the table. Like, I already had too much going on for myself, and he couldn't contribute to that. And while I didn't understand it necessarily at the time, I respected the hell out of it. And to this day, he's one of my very best friends, one of my closest friends, because that was a lesson for me in how you have those conversations where you just have to be freaking brutally honest with yourself. Like, this isn't anything about the other person, but I can't go all in to this relationship because it meets my needs if I'm not willing to or able to contribute equally to the other person, and vice versa. And so sometimes I think, especially as women, if we think that we can bring enough to the table to compensate, like, If you can bring the hors d'oeuvres, I'll bring all 7 courses. If you bring water and some napkins and some paper plates, I'll do everything else. I'll get the groceries, I'll cook the food, I'll serve it up, I'll clean up, I'll wash the dishes, rub your back when we're done. We think we can be enough. And that's how we find ourselves in the falling in love versus choosing to be in a relationship, and realizing that most of the time, one of the lessons that I had to learn was most of the time when we say we're in love, do you know how long it takes to really fall in love with someone? Like, Jenna says love at first sight. Like, that's how they felt. Love at first. No. Stop mystifying yourself. Stop. No. You don't fall in love at first sight. You fall in you fall in interest, you fall in lust, you fall into a whole lot of stuff, but it's not love. It takes a long time for true love. And like I talk about in the book, that agape type of love, that deep-seated, that's like a relationship with God. That's like a relationship, a mother to child. That's that love that I've invested my entire soul and being into loving this person, but not at the detriment of myself. And I think even sometimes relationships with our children can cross that line where we become so conditioned to giving and making sure that they have to our own detriment. And we have to not do that. Like, you have to consciously be aware at all times of how you're choosing these relationships. And it doesn't matter if they're intimate relationships, professional relationships, familial relationships. You have to be honest and stay in tune with the reality of where you are emotionally, what you're giving, what you're getting back, and is it reciprocated? Is it in harmony? And people talk about balance all the time, and I always steer clear of balance, because having things in balance, the scales are never going to always be equal. They're never going to be. So if you walk into any kind of relationship expecting that it's going to be 100% equal, you're fooling yourself. Renita, what's going on? You're fooling yourself. Relationships aren't meant to be in balance. They're meant to be harmonious. And when you get that, it can change the expectations, and it begins to change. Hey, John, it begins to change your relationship with the reality of the relationship. And I'm a big one. I always tell you guys, we teach people how to be in relation with us. Jenna didn't really do a good job of teaching Tony how to be in relation with her, nor did Tony do a very good job. What's going on, Trish? Hey, Jeffrey. Neither did Tony do a very good job of teaching Jenna how to be in relation with him. He said the right thing when he said, I've never been more sure of anything. Yes, I'm ready to go off the market. Yes, I'm ready to commit, to settle down, all of that stuff. But even the language of that relationship was off. Because if you feel like you're settling down, we already got a problem, Houston. Because you shouldn't be settling. You don't settle down, and you don't settle down. Like, I don't want a relationship where either one of us are settling for anything. Yes, I'm ready to choose you. Yes, I'm ready to choose this life. Yes, I'm ready to choose this lifestyle with you. I'm ready to choose whatever, but I don't want you to settle. That's not what I want. I don't want somebody that's settling ever. And so that's what I mean when I talk about the reality piece and making sure that, and I'm a huge now on listening to what people say and listening to their choice of words. And people don't often think through their word choice. And so because they don't think consciously about their word choices, they can be very, very telling about what that person really, truly thinks and feels about whatever the situation is, whatever conversation you're having. And so when they're using words like settling, hang up my jersey, throw in the towel, tie myself down, none of that None of that sounds positive. I don't want you to be settled. I don't want you to be tied down. I don't want you throwing in no towels. I want you hanging up no jerseys. I want you to choose. And I want to be able to choose. I don't ever want to feel like I settled. I don't ever want to feel like I had to hang up my jersey. Choosing to retire is a different conversation than I had to hang up my jersey. One's very much voluntary, one's very much involuntary. And so don't ever fall in love again. Stand straight up, know who you are, be in touch with the reality that is you and what you want for your life, and then choose someone who's going to fit you and be in harmony with you. You want harmony. You're not going to ever find balance, per se. So look for harmonious relationships. What's going on, Danielle? Look for harmonious relationships. Look for relationships that start with you. And it's okay to start with you. When I tell you I live life on Mars, I'm sold out to my happiness. Everything I do starts with me. And you can say, well, probably why you're single, because you got that attitude. But guess what? I'm single and I'm so happy in my life, and I'm so happy with my life. And I'm so happy that I know all the things that I know now, so that I don't make Jenna type choices anymore. I don't make decisions the way Jenna made decisions. And I always say from any of my work, you're always going to get a very, very large dose of a transparent Mars. You're going to be able to peek into my psyche. You're going to be able to peek into my heart a lot, because I'm very, very transparent in my writing style. And this book particular, because it's written as a journal, is very, very insightful as to what that journey looks like, and how you have to grow and how you have to move to go from the person who was in this abusive relationship, who was willing to settle, who was willing to compromise, who was always ready to acquiesce and accommodate, to someone who was completely sold out to her own happiness and completely satisfied and thrilled with the life that she's built on her own, separate and apart from a relationship. So let's see. I think he was running me through. You remember that conversation, Christopher? Right. That's so funny. I love it. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, pay attention. Choose love. Don't ever fall in love ever again. At some point when you fall, you got to pick yourself back up. And this book, Love Miscarriage, Recovering the Broken Pieces of Your Heart When Love Dies Too Soon, is about picking back up those pieces. And if you stand straight up to begin with, and you choose love and you choose relationship, and you are able to have the conversations like the one that I had with my friend, and you still, everybody walks away very clear about where they stand and what mode they operate in, and it allows something like a magnificent friendship that's lasted, 15 plus years now. Like, that doesn't just happen when you fall into situations. You have to make conscious choices, and you have to surround yourself with people who will respect your conscious choices, and whose conscious choices you can in return respect. Does that make sense? All right. So don't fall in love so you're not having to pick yourself back up. Don't fall for the okie doke. Just stop falling. Stand straight up. Get in tune with reality. Know what you want. Be clear about it. Be able to communicate your needs. Be able to advocate for what you desire. And don't let emotion take you somewhere you don't want to go. Don't let emotion take you somewhere that's not in the plan. If you find yourself being caught up in the emotion of, or the excitement of, the newness, because a lot of times that's what it's about. It's about that newness. And when it's not new anymore, and they leaving their socks laying around, or they constantly just whatever, like, there's just certain stuff that just really grinds your gears, and that person is doing that, if you settled, those little things are going to become such big things because you didn't take the time to make the investments in the right things on the front end to make sure that when you do the little stuff that grind somebody's gears, that you're so in tune on the other things that those little things stay little things and they don't become big things that get blown out of proportion, or they don't become things. If you choose people that you can't have honest conversations with, then when those little things pop up, you can't talk about it. And you just feel like you got to stuff it down. And when you're stuffing it down, little pieces of you are breaking every single day. More and more and more and more and more. And you're not even paying attention until one day the relationship's jacked up and you're just like, how in the hell did we get here? You got here because you fell. You got here because you didn't make the investments on the front end to make sure that you were building something with a strong foundation to begin with. Because when you have a strong, solid foundation to begin with, it's got something to, it's not going to just crumble. But if your foundation is weak to begin with, and then you start building problems on it, pretty soon it just falls away and there's nothing left. And that's when the heartbreak comes. That's when the, what did I do wrong? What could I have done different? We second guessing ourselves and we asking 100 million questions that there really aren't an answer to because we didn't ask the right questions in the beginning. So ask the right questions. Stand straight up. Don't fall in love ever again. Promise me you will choose relationships. You will not fall in love. Okay? And remember, it's probably not love anyway, right in the beginning. Like, love takes time to build. It's a lot of trust that is built into love that you can't have that level of trust in the very beginning. So love at first sight is a Disney thing. I hate to tell you guys that. Maybe not Disney, maybe Pixar, I don't know. But it's in fairy tales. It's Rapunzel, it's Belle, Cinderella, whoever. Alright, so that's my message for tonight. Don't ever fall in love ever again. Promise me that. Stand straight up. Choose love. Choose relationships. More importantly, choose your happiness. And as always, thanks for living life on Mars, y'all. Talk to y'all later.